Okay, for those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest, and welcome to I Am Possible. Now, before we get going, I'm going to ask if everybody can kind of stay off of this top step here. This way, nobody really blocks the display, and it gives me a little bit of room to move around and do the whole hosting thing, right? I can direct your attention to the menu wheel in your lower right. You're going to notice the very top of it has a microphone icon. When that microphone icon is clear, that means I can hear what's happening in your environment and stuff like that. So we've gone ahead and we've turned it to red. And this means that you mute it. So if somebody comes into your space and says, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" Don't worry, we're not going to hear that. Also, if, just because you're muted, don't feel like you can't express yourself. You're going to notice that there's a pink cheek smiley face in your menu wheel. You can and should use this because it gives you a lot of, variety of options to express yourself. So say somebody's sharing like a very deep and powerful story today and it touches you down deep and it starts to build up. You can just let it out, let it flow and show the love, right? Maybe somebody tells like a story where they're like swinging across quicksand, like Tarzan style, right? You're all very impressed. You can throw up the applause like that, right? Make it feel good, right? Maybe somebody says something that resonates with you. You want to smile. You can do that. You can frown if maybe it's a sad story. Maybe it's a funny story. You can laugh by doing that silly face emoji like that, right? And then there's this. This isn't how you ask a question. This isn't how you get on the list there. This is how, you try to get my attention if something's gone wrong, right? But if I see one hand go up like Maddie's there, right, I'm just going to keep on going. But if I see five of them go up, once I know something's wrong, like I'm waving my hands around and, people are like, "Well, it looks like this guy's talking, but I'm not hearing anything." That's a good time to use that. Or maybe this display catches on fire. And no, I don't mean this slide we chose. I always use that bit, but, we probably should have thought differently about that slide, you know? And there's like a hand coming out of the screen right now. That's interesting. Okay, but yeah, you get the general idea. So I Am Possible is an event where we're going to share stories about where we ourselves or people we know or maybe a story we read about have overcome difficult odds or did something that we ourselves or the people around us didn't think could be done. Also, there's, or it doesn't even have to be in the real world either. It could be something in VR, like maybe you didn't think you could build a world. Like this world that we're standing in here, the Ravenhall the forum here. This is was built on an Apple iPad and on a laptop that couldn't run Unity for more than 15 minutes before it would crash, and and go wrong there. So we use that word impossible quite a bit while we were making it, and we kept on going, and we ended up breaking through and getting it, and and now we can gather here under the stars, under the stars, and share all these all the stories and stuff. Now, I have a long history with the word impossible, right? Now, the way this is going to work, just give you a little idea of what to expect here. The way this is going to work is I'm going to make a raise hand button appear on your lower right as if by magic. There you go. And now, if you want to get on the list to share a story, you press that raise hand button, right? And we'll call on you, and then, we'll go like that. But while we wait for that to fill up, since pauses are the natural enemy of the on-space, event host, I'll start out. All right. I have a long history with this word, and I really don't care for it. Recently read that impossible is a word that we use for something we haven't done yet. All right. And because once upon a time I thought I knew what that word meant. All right. When I started out, when I was just a little kid, I had one summer where these bullies were giving me a hard time, and every day they would chase me down this alleyway and they would beat me up. Right. And while this was going on, they would tell me, they would talk to me while it was happening. It's, because I would always try to get away. I would try to fight back. And they tell me, don't fight back. It's impossible. Don't run. It's impossible. They kept using that word. And I thought I knew what it meant. I thought impossible meant something that, that you couldn't do. That's something that couldn't be done. Right. And then one day, my father, he owned a bar at the time. And he, I had a customer come into the bar and he, had like a shopping bag with him. Right. And, he asked my dad, he says, "You have any kids at home?" He's about to settle out his bill and everything. And, my dad says, "Yeah, I have two boys." And he says, "Well, I think they're like this." And he picks up this, shopping bag, puts it on the bar and slides it across to him. And my father's like, takes a look inside the bag because, I guess he thought like, "Oh, this big bag, this is going to be a huge tip." So he looks in there, probably expecting to find money. But what he saw was a stack of Batman comics, right? There's a big pile of them. And he comes home and he slides one under my bedroom door, right? And I said, "What's this?" I take a look at it. Now I didn't read this like the kid typically reads a comic. I read this like it was an instruction manual, right? And what I did was I took an old backpack, an old school backpack, and I modified the side pocket so that and I put a drawstring on the bottom of it, right? Sewed it up, and I filled it up with these glass marbles, right? Now the next day, the kids chased me down this, down this alleyway, and I was wearing the backpack, right? And what I did was, as they were chasing, I could feel them coming up behind me. I reached back, right, and I pulled on that drawstring real hard, and all of a sudden you heard, the glass marbles clatter all over the pavement, right? And I kept running. And for the first time, I made it to the garages. I scrambled up this like concrete wall there, and I got up on top of the garages, and I looked back out down out the alleyway, and I saw all these all the kids like on the ground, and they kept trying to get up, and they kept falling again, and I just started giggling. I started laughing, and then all of a sudden I stopped because it dawned on me. I suddenly realized I had done what they said could not be done. They told me it was impossible, but I did it. So that word didn't mean what people thought it meant. And I thought people had to know this, right? So what I did was, and I can tell this story now because the statute of limitations is up, but I went to the library, and at the library, I found every dictionary I could, right? And I crossed out the word impossible. And ever since that day, I just don't believe in it. Let me see. We have somebody on the list here. Between stories, we're going to check the list and see who's on it. We have Christian Sir. What's going on? You're on the air. You have a story for us? Where are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. What's up?
I'm sorry that I didn't been here from the beginning. So I'm
That's
from
cool.
Romania, so my
Wow.
English is not very good, but I will try to do my best. So
Pretty good.
I'm using Altspace for I think 2 months already, and I start to see a new life over here, a virtual life, a virtual world, a new world, basically. And I start to imagine myself in this reality before I buy my Oculus Quest glasses. Anyway, I downloaded the Gravity Sketch app. I don't know who knows Gravity Sketch app.
Gravity Sketch is awesome. I love Gravity.
Okay, so and I start to build my own world, my
Good for you.
my own town with my buildings, my kind of stuff, and my playgrounds, my shops, everything. It's same like here, but it's my vision, my world. Anyway,
Nice.
and I tried to speak with the administration, the local administration, to put my project in real life. So what I've done in Gravity Sketch, I've done there, I want to put my project in real life. So I think
Wow.
this is the future. This is how we're going to construct the future. In virtual
Completely agree.
reality, we're going to do it in real life.
Yes, absolutely agree. That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, Romania.
And
Get over the
this is not impossible.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, I completely agree. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing with us. That's really cool. I like that. All right, we also have Pupper on the list. Pupper, you want to you have something to share with us? Hear from you. What's up, Pupper? Where are you? Where are you, Pupper? I don't see you. There you are, right by the fire. You're in the fire.
How did you make this?
That looks pain. What's that?
How did you? I actually have a question. How did you make all this?
Well, at the beginning when we started out, I didn't have a computer, right? And everything you see here, like the area itself, right, and these two red buttons, we did most of this stuff on an Apple iPad and an old laptop that really wasn't too stable for running Unity. And the more we did it, the more we got some better equipment along the way. But yeah, it's a lot of times like when we started programming these buttons, right? I was doing it in the text editor. So you can't let that limit you. Anyone can do this stuff. It's just a matter of keeping at it and trying to doing the small things first, and then building on that. But it was just how did we do it? Well, generally the way what you'll do is use a modeling program, and the results of the modeling program you'll put it in a file format, either an object file format or an FBX format, and you'll pull that into Unity. And then in Unity, Altspace has a script that's called which is the Unity uploader, and you use the Unity uploader to move the objects into Altspace, into the template, and to the website. It's kind of a long process. On Tuesday, I have an event called Building Worlds. You can learn a lot there to get started. They also have the SDK meetups tonight, actually, and also on Thursday. And those are a great resource to get started if you're interested in doing that stuff.
Thank you.
Because like Christian said, it's a really is really a powerful thing when you can actually take something out of your mind and put it in a space like this. And he's right, it translates into the real world. It goes both ways. A lot of people will recreate things in Altspace or in VR that that are in the real world. But it also goes the other way. Things that we create in VR can go out into the real world too. Because really it's just it's a process. All right, let's see here. Let's see. I hope that answered that question. I don't see anybody else on the list, and as you know, bosses are the natural enemy of the event host. I'll keep going with another story here. It's one of my favorites actually. In the early days of the U.S., when the gold rush was on, and you had everybody was prospecting and trying to get gold, there was this old miner, and he came into possession of a mine. And when he, at the end of every day, he'd have a rough day whenever he'd go into this local saloon in town and unwind a little bit. And every time he went in there, there was a guy there that offered to buy the mine from him. He says, I'll take it off your hands and give it a good price. And the miner would say, there's no way I'm selling. There's gold in there. I can feel it in my bones. I'm convinced, and there's no way I'll ever part with it. And every day, this guy would ask him the same question. And every day, the miner would say no. But then one day, the miner had one of those days, and I'm sure you're all familiar with these kind of days where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. His fuses were wet, and his pickaxes were breaking. He had everything was just going wrong. And he comes into the saloon, and the guy comes up to him, and the miner goes, "Fine." But the guy could even ask, he's like, "Fine, yeah, I'll sell it to you." So he sells him the mine. And then a few days later, the old miner comes into the saloon again, and he sees the guy he sold the mine to, and he's like celebrating. He's buying everybody drinks. He's all lit up. He's really, he's really excited. It looks like he's having a good day there. And the miner goes up to him and goes, "What's the occasion?" And he says, "Well, that mine you sold me, we found gold." And the miner's like, "You got to tell me, how close was I?" And the guy says, "Well, we only dug about 3 feet." Now, for the rest of the miner's life, every time he was facing a difficult situation, every time he felt like he couldn't do something, every time he thought something was impossible, he, would tell himself, "I'm just 3 feet from gold." And life's a lot like that. When you're facing something difficult, right? You're usually at the point where right when you're about to quit, that's usually about the time you're about to get it. That's about the time you're about to break through. And that's actually why we started this event. The world's a pretty negative place, and we thought, this was only supposed to be a one-time thing. Right, we were going to do it one time, and then we kind of kept going. Now, like a few months later into this, and every time we do these, I learn something new, right? Because like I found that it's people's relationship to the word impossible that makes it the most limiting thing of all. And because we were hoping that somebody would come to this event. Maybe somebody's in a difficult relationship, or maybe somebody's facing a difficult project at school or work, and they didn't think it could be done, and they'd hear one of these stories, and they'd be like, "Well, if that person could do it, maybe I'll keep trying." And then maybe they get past that obstacle there. All right, so I don't see anybody else on the list here, so I'm gonna have to dig deep and grab another one. All right, so let's see here. We have back in the mid '80s, there was a couple, and they had a small child who was about 4 years old, and he was a very special kid. At the age of 4, he could already speak 3 languages. All right, and parents were naturally very proud, but gradually they started to notice that their son was behaving a little bit differently. Right, he started like slurring his words. He started bumping into things. He had just started school, and he was like getting into fights and having problems with the other kids. And they realized, that's just not our kid, right? That's not how he behaves. So they took him to the doctor to find out what was going on. And initially, the doctors thought, because the father traveled around a lot, maybe had picked up some kind of parasite or something, from another country, maybe. And they kept giving him tests, and they kept trying to find out what was wrong. And this went on for a while, and the boys kept declining. And they eventually found he had a disease that I have no business trying to pronounce. It's commonly known as ALD. And with this disease, they told him, "Listen, there's no cure for it. Your son's going to die in a couple of years, and here's a support group." And they basically sent them home to watch their son die. The thing is, the parents said no. They refused to accept it. So much so that the support group actually had to come to their home to try to get him to come to terms with the fact that their son wasn't going to make it. But because instead of spending all the time, you'd think, that you could, right, they started going to like medical libraries. They started writing doctors, and they started looking, for answers. And, they only had a high school education with regard to like math and science and stuff, but they kept showing up to these medical libraries, and they kept studying, about animal testing and research. And they gradually, over time, started to learn the language of math, of science, of chemistry. And they kept looking. And eventually they came across this oil that has this properties, 2 types of oils that has this property of separating the lipids under the blood. And they would, so they started to administer this oil to their son's diet. And they had his blood tested, and they found that the progression of the disease was starting to slow. And they got very excited. They got very encouraged. So they started telling the doctors about it. And the doctors were like, "Listen, you're just lay people. You don't grasp this. Yeah, he's going to have ups and downs, but this isn't going to end well, and you need to come to terms with it." right? It says bend it to what time you can. But again, they said no. They refused to accept it, right? So they realized we've got to produce this stuff. We've got to get it refined. And what they did was they started to contact all these chemists and pharmacists, over 100 of them. You got to remember, this is back in the days before the internet. So there was like no email or anything like that. So they're writing letters, they're making phone calls, and they keep on asking. And one day there was a chemist who was about to retire. It was his last day, and he's at his desk and he's opened his mail up, and and he sees this letter, and it touches him, and so he says, you know what, I'm gonna do this, and he writes back, and he says, we're gonna have to call it something, and they named it because he says, I'll produce the oil for you, and he ended up naming it Lorenzo's Oil after the sun, and it was actually they made a movie out of this. The name sounds familiar, and what happened was so they gave this oil to the son, and the son lived to the age of 28, where he eventually did die from complications that came out of pneumonia that he caught. Now, here's the thing, though. They didn't just stop there. What happened was anyone found with markers of this in their blood, they would give them this oil, and they were able to, hold off the disease, and eventually the doctors even came to agree that yes, there is something to this, and it was just because two ordinary people refused to accept that word, because the doctors used that word impossible more than once, and they didn't care for that, so they kept on going, let's see, we have Fury on the list here. You have something to add? What's up, Fury?
Hey,
What's
yeah.
going on?
You know what? This isn't so much a story about overcoming the impossible, but I think it would be really great if I could ask everybody for a little bit of encouragement to get past something that feels impossible right now, which is the project that we're working on with Shark Time. It feels a little
Oh yeah,
impossible.
yeah. We were going through it. Like I said earlier, when we were working on this world, we used that impossible word more than once. Right now, we've been developing an event, and it's nothing like you've seen in all before, because the set is part of the show. Like the set moves, and there's like bridges that extend. There's these sharks that come up in these tanks. It's a game show style where we're going to be giving away kits to make world builders have an easier time of it. And there's really nothing like it in here yet. But the thing is, in order for us to feature the world, our frame rate has to go up to reach a number of 70. And we've had a lot of ups and downs with it. We got close the other day, then all of a sudden, mysteriously, the file size tripled, and we've been going through with that. So yeah, emojis are appreciated, but we keep
It's not
we keep going.
impossible.
Yeah, yes,
Please.
but we're gonna keep going, and we will get it. Yeah, all right, we will get it. They did say, because the
It's gonna
theme
be
is
so much fun.
it's under
It's
the
gonna,
ocean, right? And if you guys
yeah.
like, we could take you by the set, show you. But it's under the ocean, and because it's under the ocean, we use a lot of transparencies so that you can see that you're under the ocean. So there's a lot of glass surfaces, and glass surfaces are not very performant. So we have to use a lot of tricks to get that performance going. And yeah, we are having a hard time, but you mark my words, we will get through it. All right. I don't see anybody else on the list here. So what I'm going to do is, I guess I'll keep on going. Let's see. But again, if you have something you want to add, if you want to share a story, something like that, just press that raise hand button on your right, get you on the list, and you can absolutely do that. Now I'm going to share another one, and this one is when the U.S. entered the Olympics, there was the very first time they went into the discus event, right? They wanted to make a strong showing, like anybody would. And they started training, and they started comparing themselves against the known records at the time, which was thought to be the best that humans could achieve. Nobody had broken a record in some years, and they wanted to be the first, so they started training really hard. They found out while they were training, they weren't even coming close to these numbers, and they were getting worried they were going to embarrass themselves. They were doing really well below that. And what happened was they show up, and when they checked in their equipment at the Olympic Committee, the committee was like, you can't use these discs; they're not regulation. Right. So, they said, well, we got to compete. What do we do? And they said, well, we'll give you discs you can use that are regulation. And they took these discs, they went down to the training field to get ready. And what happened was, even when they were just warming up, they were already shattering records. It turned out that the discs that they had been using were much heavier, right, than the regulation ones. And now it's standard practice to train with heavier weights. But back then, you would use the regulation discs to train with, and this had the effect of making them better, and have raised them up. And they shattered records that day, all day. They just kept one record after another, and they cleaned up, right? Yeah, but up to that point, they thought that even just getting like a decent score to preserve, to make a good showing, they thought that was impossible. right? And it just goes to show, if you keep trying, and sometimes when things are a little bit hard, it actually, you come out better on the other side of that. All right, let's see. We have Christian on the list again. Christian, what's up?
Sorry. Hi. Can you
Hey,
hear me?
what's up? Yeah, we can hear you great.
Okay. Okay. Can you help me after your event? Can you help me to upload my project to Outside from Gravity Store?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. If you can, if you want, you can join our Discord actually. If you go to altvr.com and you go to where it says channels, you'll see on the on there, you'll see Ravenhall events, like it says on that back wall over there. And if you click on that, there'll be a button on the left-hand side that says join Discord. And that goes for anybody that wants to help us put on events like that. But it's probably the best way to reach me because I'm in and out through events a lot. But I'll see me after and let me know where you get stuck, and we can see if we can help
Okay.
you.
So go to Discord.
Yeah, I'm on Discord, and you can see me after here. Two great ways to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's see who else do we have here. Let's see. We have oh, they just disappeared, so nobody on the list. Okay, let's see. I think we have time for one more. Yeah, we do. This one's from my own life, actually. When I was in my late teens, I started getting into camping and hiking and all that kind of thing. And and it had been raining for a few months. And my friend Chris and I, we went up to upstate New York to this lake, to go camping and hiking around it. And there was been so much water damage and there's so much runoff that there were actually waterfalls going into the lake. And they were really beautiful. We went to go explore a couple of them. And we weren't dressed properly for it because we had like these what looked like hiking boots, but they were actually construction boots, very heavy with like steel toes. That's important, and you'll find out why. So what happened was we were up on one of these waterfall things, and my friend Chris he slipped on the water, right? And he fell down, and the water like launched him down like the stream here, and he slammed like right into my legs, knocked me over, and then we both shot out right over the falls, right? We dropped about 12 feet or so into the water, big splash, and we weren't hurt or anything. We came up laughing. We thought it was very funny. And we came up to the bank to get back on the on shore, and that's when we stopped laughing because all these huge, I mean, like I can't even describe, about this big, like huge clumps of mud were coming down. We couldn't get a foothold, and we just couldn't get on shore, and we kept fighting to get up there, and we just couldn't do it. And like all this earth kept coming in, and we just couldn't we couldn't get on shore. And so we look across the lake, and we see like this big boulder where our campsite was. And we figure, we'll just swim for it. It didn't look that far. Of course, both of us were strong swimmers too, so it just seemed like a natural thing. Of course, we weren't thinking about the fact that we were wearing these heavy boots, right? I mean, we looked good, we looked like hikers, but now we had a really serious problem. And what happened was we kept on going, and about halfway across, Chris gets my attention, and he tells me, he says, "Mike, I don't think I'm going to make it." Now I looked to the rock, and I looked back where we started from, and it was about the same distance either way. And I realized if we went back where we were, we still probably wouldn't be able to get on shore, and we wouldn't have supplies or anything like that. So really, I kind of convinced him that the best thing to do is just keep on going, right? And as we were going, I started to think I wasn't going to make it. And then when I felt like I was going to make it, Chris started yelling out stuff that was from like a Rocky movie, if you've ever seen it. And he's like, you got to dig deep, keep on going. He got like this second wind of this energy, and he just started to fight. And that encouraged me, and I started to fight too. And then he would get discouraged, and I'd yell stuff out, and we spent a lot of time yelling, but we just kept digging in, and we got a little bit further and a little bit further. Before you knew it, we came up, against that rock, and we just collapsed on it. We were so beat up from it that we actually stayed an extra day, but we made it. We didn't think we would, right? And I know, you're probably thinking, oh, you would just take the boots off, but there were like a lot of snakes. We'd have to clean up, the campsite barefoot, and then we'd have to drive home like that. And honestly, when you're in that situation, you don't think of things like that. You just, you're thinking, you get scared, but you keep on pushing, and usually, things work out. All right, I can see that we're actually about out of time here, but I would like to. We usually end our events by taking everybody flying, and the way we do that is by doing something I once thought was impossible, right? Because I always thought it would be a neat effect. We used to have in our spaces, we used to have this drone set up with a teleporter coming out of it, and we would go into the teleporter at the end to go to the Ravenhall Flight Academy, where we teach everybody to fly, right? And people would always ask, if we could fly the drones, and I would always say, well, it's just decoration. And in the back of my mind, I'd be like, I hate saying that, right? But we kept on working on a way to get you guys to fly them, and we came up with it, and now you can fly these things, right? In addition to that, we thought it would be cool to end our events by actually having that ship come in, right, and pick us up, right? It'd be a nice transition, and that's what we're going to do right now. But before we do, listen, if you've enjoyed today, please go to altvr.com, go where it says channels, you see where it says Ravenhall events, like it says on the back wall there, right? That takes you to our event page. You'll see all these event channels there, and you'll see Ravenhall events among them. And if you press on the subscribe button that's on that page, it lets Allspace know that you enjoy our content, right? It also makes us feel good. We don't get paid to do this, and every time we see that number go up. Yeah, every time we see that number go up, it makes us feel good. You know, we enjoy that.
Sure does.
Also, we got links to our YouTube channel. We usually film more events. So if you see, Raven and I up there floating there, you can all wave out to YouTube if you want to, be all
Hi,
space
Raven
famous
and I.
and be like, hey, and you could do that. But yeah, subscribe to our channel. That's the one. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can at Uncanny Valley _ Uncanny Valley. I know it looks like one underscore, but it's actually two. All right, everybody, let's press this button. I'm going to unmute everybody because I like hearing all the oohs and the ahs that people do. And I see it's already been done. Thanks, Jerry. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to press this button here. And if you can direct your attention to that wall over there, you're going to see, right, one new ship's come up over that wall. It's a pretty cool effect. I hope you all enjoy it.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position. Please stay clear of the landing pad. Thank you.
Okay, here it comes. Let's see. Should be coming up over that wall and it's going to climb up and fly over the forum. There we go. Nice. Yeah, it is nice. It's pretty cool. We're very proud of it. And again, you can fly these ships to the place that we're going. If you join us at the Ravenhall Flight Academy, you can fly these yourselves if you like. And we'll show you how to do that. So what we do is we'll go up these
Talon
stairs here. And
aircraft is now boarding for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy.
Good.
Please step into the blue light.
Nice.
Thank you.
Everyone forms such a nice orderly line. You notice that? Well, it's not really an abduction because we're controlling it. So it's not like we're being stolen. We're going to learn how to fly.
It's a
All right, let's go.
voluntary abduction.